The sound of her voice still lingers as silence folds back over the table. My fork rests midair, untouched food cooling beneath the weight of my thoughts. Lynn talks fast, her smile sharp, her tone rehearsed like a speech she's proud of. She says it again, slower this time, just to make sure I understand. We're moving into your lake house next week. The words drop heavy, like stones into deep water. Dad nods, casual, pretending this is all logical, all normal. It's empty anyway, and family should help family. Mom's eyes sparkle with approval, like generosity runs in their blood, not mine. The children cheer, arguing about bedrooms, claiming spaces that aren't theirs. My throat tightens, but no one notices. This isn't a request. It's an announcement disguised as kindness. They've already decided. They didn't even think to ask. I fold my napkin slowly, giving myself a moment to breathe. For years, I've been the quiet one, the reasonable one, the one who bends. But something inside me doesn't bend anymore. It clicks instead, sharp and certain. I'm afraid that won't be possible, I say. Lynn freezes, laughter still caught in her throat. Dad glances up, eyebrows raised like I've just spoken a foreign language. What do you mean? He asks, as if confusion can mask entitlement. The house isn't empty, I reply. Renovations start next week. Their smiles falter, disbelief rippling across the table like a cold draft. I reach into my bag and place a folder beside the roast platter. Permits, contracts, signatures dated 3 months ago. Proof that I've been building something without their permission. Dad's knife stops mid-carve. Mom's glass hovers halfway to her lips. Lynn leans forward, her voice rising with practiced outrage. You plan this, she says, as if I've committed betrayal. I plan my own life, I answer. That's not the same thing. She laughs, but it's brittle. You can't be serious. Completely, I say, meeting her eyes until she looks away. Dad clears his throat, switching to his negotiation voice. Be reasonable, En. Your sister has children. So do millions of people, I reply. They find their own homes. Mom sets her glass down too hard. You're being selfish. I'm being responsible, I correct her. Silence stretches thin across the room. For once, I let it stay. Lynn's husband stares at his plate, saying nothing, like guilt might hide him. I take a sip of water, steady and slow. I've lived too long being the accommodating daughter. Not tonight. Not again. Dad leans forward, voice low, eyes calculating. You know this could affect certain family decisions. The inheritance card. The familiar leash they love to tug. But I'm not tethered anymore. I stand, gathering my bag and the folder. I've fulfilled my obligations, I say quietly. You should respect my boundaries. Chairs scrape behind me, voices follow, but I keep walking. The door closes with a soft click, final and clean. Outside, the air feels new, almost electric. For the first time in years, I'm not the one staying silent. For the first time, I've chosen myself. The gravel crunches under the tires before I even reach the driveway. A white moving truck sits there, engine humming, logo bright in the sun. Lynn's voice carries across the yard, loud and commanding as always. Boxes stack against the porch like siege towers. Her kids chase each other through the grass, laughing like it's a playground. For a moment, I just stand there, watching the chaos bloom on my property. Then I exhale, slow and deliberate, and step out of the car. The crew I hired pauses their work, waiting for my signal. Good morning, I say, voice calm. Can I help you? Lynn spins around, sunglasses pushed high on her head. Oh, you're here, perfect timing, she says too sweetly. We're just unloading the essentials. You mean trespassing, I reply, scanning the mess. Her smile hardens. It's family, not trespassing. Family doesn't cross boundaries, I say. She waves a hand, dismissive, like my words are decoration. The house is big enough. We'll stay out of your way. I nod once, then glance toward the new security panel near the door. Try your key, I say. She frowns, inserts it into the lock, twists. Nothing. She tries again, harder this time. A robotic voice echoes from the speaker. Unauthorized entry detected. Owner has been notified. Her jaw drops. You changed the locks. I look up at the camera, blinking above the door. I upgraded the security system, I say. Safer that way. She laughs, but it's thin, brittle. You're serious about this renovation nonsense? Dead serious. The foreman approaches, clipboard in hand. Miss N, demolition starts in 30 minutes. Lynn's face drains of color. Demolition. Everything down to the studs, I confirm. Her husband murmurs something about the storage unit. I pull an envelope from my bag and hand it to her. 6 months paid in full, I say. Plenty of space for your things. She doesn't take it. We need a place to live, not store furniture. That's not my responsibility. The words hang there, solid as concrete. For once, I don't rush to soften them. She turns away, muttering, heading toward the truck. Fine, we'll keep it on the lawn until you come to your senses. I watch the movers unload an antique dresser onto my grass. I dial a number I memorized last night. This is Minan. Proceed with the pickup, please. Her head snaps toward me. Pick up. The auction house, I say. All proceeds go to the youth shelter. The color drains completely from her face. You wouldn't dare. I already did. The foreman nods to his crew, and the hammering begins. Walls shake, dust rises. Lynn's shouting fades under the roar of machinery. For the first time, her noise can't touch me. I walk to my car, the wind carrying the sound of demolition behind me. Each crash feels like release. Every blow takes back something that was stolen. The house is changing, but so am I. And this time, both transformations are mine to control. My phone vibrates before dawn, her name flashing across the screen. I let it ring until it stops. 5 seconds later, it starts again. By the 7th call, I answer. Her voice explodes through the line, sharp and furious. You sold my furniture. That was family property. I stare at the window, watching sunlight creep across the floor. It was left on my land, I say evenly, and you abandoned it. You had no right, she screams. I had every legal right, I reply. I documented everything. There's silence, the kind that tastes like disbelief. You think this makes you look strong, she hisses. It makes me look free, I say and hang up. For the first time in years, the quiet feels kind. By afternoon, a new call comes, my father's number. He never calls twice. Today he calls 3 times. When I don't pick up, a message follows. We're coming to talk this out. Of course they are. By the time their car pulls up, the crew is working full force. The front wall of the house is half gone, beams stripped bare. Mom steps out first, hand to her chest like she's at a funeral. Dad stands beside her, jaw tight. What have you done? He says. I told you, I answer. Renovation, full structure, rebuild. Mom shakes her head. You destroyed it. I'm rebuilding it, I correct her. The workers continue, saws screaming through the air. Dad gestures sharply. Stop this madness right now. No, I say simply. He turns, using that tone meant to control boardrooms and daughters alike. You are being irrational. Your sister has nowhere to go. She has options, I say, just not mine. Mom's voice breaks. What about the children? What about me? I ask. They fall silent. For once, they hear what's beneath my calm. Dad narrows his eyes. You're risking your inheritance. I almost laugh. Already gone, I say. You changed the will after I refused to bail Mark out. His expression falters, caught between anger and surprise. Mom turns to him, whispering, Is that true? He doesn't answer. The truth fills the space like smoke. I walk them through the open frame of the house. Look, I say, This is what I'm building, my own design, my own timeline. They step carefully over planks and dust. Mom's voice softens. Why didn't you tell us? Because you don't listen, I say. She looks away, guilt flickering in her eyes. Dad studies the blueprints pinned to the wall. What's this? He asks, pointing. A reading space, I say, for foster kids, funded by the auction money. He stares, speechless. The workers lift another beam into place, sunlight spilling through. For a moment, no one speaks. Then Mom whispers, maybe we judged you too quickly. Maybe, I say, turning toward the open frame. The wind blows through, warm and clean. Behind me, the house groans with change. Ahead of me, so do I. 3 months pass before the next invitation arrives. A message from my mother, polite but layered with intent. Sunday dinner, just family, it says. The same house, the same table, the same performance waiting. I drive there anyway, calm and ready. The scent of her pot, roast hits me as soon as I enter. Dad greets me with a handshake that feels like a deal being negotiated. I sit down, the same burgundy napkin folded neatly on my lap. Mom smiles too brightly. We're so happy you came, dear. I know this tone. It's the prelude to persuasion. Then the doorbell rings, and I understand. Pastor High steps inside, kind eyes, gentle smile. The moral reinforcement has arrived. He takes the seat beside me, folding his hands on the table. Your parents tell me you've been very busy, he says warmly. Yes, I answer, transforming something that needed change. Dad clears his throat. We were hopping for a conversation about family. I nod. We always talk about family when I do something they don't approve of. The table falls quiet. Mom's voice softens, almost trembling. And we just want everyone to be close again. Lynn's children miss you. I sip my water steady. Missing someone doesn't give them ownership, I say. Pastor High looks between us, sensing the undercurrent. He smiles gently. Perhaps there's room for understanding on both sides. There is, I agree, unlocking my tablet. Let me show you what I've been working on. Photos appear one by one on the screen. The lake house under scaffolding. Bare beams glowing in sunlight. New walls rising, clean and strong. Pastor High leans forward, eyes wide. Remarkable progress. Dad studies the images, calculating as always. The next slide shows the architectural plans. A smaller layout, a reading room, an office by the lake. The children's suite, Mom asks. Turned into a library, I reply. Lynn's name isn't mentioned, but it hangs heavy in the air. I swipe again. Receipts, flood photos, repair bills from years ago. Remember the year the storm hit? I ask. You were on a cruise, I remind them. I rebuilt it alone. Mom lowers her gaze. Dad frowns, pretending to study his plate. Respecting boundaries isn't cruelty, I say softly. It's adulthood. The pastor nods, thoughtful. No one argues. For the first time, the silence feels like acknowledgement, not defiance. Then footsteps echo from the hall. Lynn appears in the doorway, cheeks flushed, ready for war. She stops cold when she sees the photos. Her voice cracks. You invited the pastor. No, I say. They did. I hand her a small envelope. Inside, a formal invitation. Housewarming, March 12th. You're all welcome as guests. Her eyes flicker between anger and disbelief. I rise, placing my napkin down. Dinner was lovely, I say. Thank you. Outside, night air wraps around me, cool and clear. Behind me, voices murmur in confusion. But I walk away lighter, untethered. For the first time, the past stays at the table, and I don't. 6 months later, the lake glows gold beneath the morning sun. The renovation is complete, and silence has returned like an old friend. I hold a cup of coffee on the balcony, the air crisp with calm. No voices, no guilt, no footsteps that don't belong. The house breathes with me, solid and sure. Downstairs, light spills across the kitchen's polished wood. Everything here was chosen, not inherited. I trace my fingers along the counter, remembering every decision, every argument that shaped this piece. The doorbell chimes, soft and unexpected. Through the security camera, I see my parents. Dad stands awkwardly, hands behind his back. Mom clutches a small jade plant like a peace offering. I press the intercom. "It's open," I say, unlocking the door. They step inside slowly, as if crossing sacred ground. Their eyes move across the space, the beams, the lake view, the quiet strength. "This is incredible," Mom whispers. Dad nods, his voice lower than usual. "You've built something remarkable." I pour coffee into handmade mugs, simple, earthy. We sit together for the first time without tension. Mom studies the photo wall, filled with images of travels and projects. There are no family portraits, only pieces of my life reclaimed. "This is who I am," I say quietly. She smiles faintly. I can see that now. For a while, we just sit, listening to the sound of the lake outside. Dad finally speaks. "You taught us something we didn't expect." I raise an eyebrow. "What's that?" "That boundaries don't destroy love," he says. "They protect it." The words settle in the air like sunlight. Later that day, friends arrive with laughter and champagne. The contractor, the auction manager, the security company rep, all smiling. We toast to completion, to freedom, to growth. Music hums through the open windows, soft and alive. The man from the auction shows me photos on his phone. The youth center, now furnished with Lynn's old furniture. Children reading in chairs, once treated as trophies. "They said it's the first matching set they've ever had," he says. I feel something warm bloom in my chest. Redemption has many shapes, I think. As the night deepens, the house glows in amber light. Guests leave one by one, laughter fatting down the drive. My phone buzzes, a new message. It's from Lynn. "I'm sorry about everything. Can we talk?" I type my reply slowly, choosing every word. "Dinner next month, bring dessert, no talk about the house." I press send and smile. Later, as my parents prepare to leave, Dad pauses at the door. He turns, meeting my eyes. "Respecting boundaries isn't cruelty," he says softly. "It's adulthood." His voice carries pride this time, not power. When they're gone, I walk out to the dock. The sky burns orange fatting to violet. The lake reflects every color, every version of me. Peace hums through the air, steady and whole. I whisper to the water, to the woman I've become. "I didn't lose them," I say. "I just found myself." The evening settles quiet over the lake, soft as memory. Lanterns sway on the porch, their light flickering across the water. I sit with a book I'm not reading, the air sweet with pine and dusk. The world feels wider now, unburdened, honest. Every wall in this house knows what it cost to stand. The past hums faintly here, but it no longer haunts. My phone buzzes on the table, a reminder of tomorrow's meeting. A new project, a new beginning. People trust me to design spaces that hold truth. Maybe because I finally built one for myself. From the dock, laughter drifts across the water, my neighbors dining outside. It sounds simple, real, and I let it fill the quiet. The house creaks gently in the wind, alive in its stillness. I walk inside, barefoot on warm wood, the scent of cedar grounding me. Every step echoes ownership, not of walls, but of choices. Photos line the hallway, work completed, lives touched, joy reclaimed. In the kitchen, a single glass waits beside the bottle of wine. I pour a small amount, the sound sharp in the silence. Peace isn't empty, it's deliberate. It's earned one decision at a time. I glance at the window, where the reflection of the lake meets my own. I remember the chaos, the shouting, the fear of saying no. Now, there's only calm, and the quiet certainty that I did not betray anyone. I only stopped betraying myself. The phone buzzes again, A message from Lynn. Looking forward to dinner next week, it says. A heart emoji follows, tentative but real. I smile and set the phone down. Progress doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Outside, a loon calls, its cry echoing through the twilight. I open the balcony doors and step into the cool air. The lake mirrors the fatting sun, a ribbon of gold across its surface. This view once felt like escape. Now it feels like belonging. I breathe deeply, steady and full. The scent of rain lingers far off, a promise of renewal. I think of Dad's words, of Mom's quiet smile, of forgiveness slow but true. I think of how boundaries became bridges instead of walls. The old me would have chased peace through silence. Now I build it through honesty. Behind me, the house glows in warm light, sturdy and alive. Every beam, every nail a declaration. No more shrinking to fit inside their comfort. No more apologizing for existing too loudly. I raise my glass toward the horizon, a private toast. To rebuilding, to release, to everything left standing. Wind brushes my hair, cool and clean. The water ripples once, then stills again. In that reflection, I see not just a survivor, but an architect of her own peace. The night deepens, quiet and whole. And for the first time, I don't wish for more. I simply belong. Morning light spills across the floor, gentle and golden. The house wakes slowly, breathing with me in perfect rhythm. Coffee steams in my hands, warm against the cool air. Outside, the lake glimmers like glass, untouched and endless. This place no longer carries ghosts, only echoes of strength. The walls remember the noise, but they also remember the silence after. I walk through each room, touching the edges of my own story. Every scar in the wood, every nail, is a choice reclaimed. The woman I was would have apologized for this piece. The woman I am simply lives it. My phone lights up again, messages from family, from friends. They reach out now with respect, not expectation. I smile and let the sound of the lake fill the space between words. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you build. It's a foundation laid with no and enough, and this is mine. I step onto the balcony, sunlight catching the edge of my glass. The horizon shimmers, steady, forgiving. I raise the cup to the morning, to the house, to myself. And in that stillness, I know I've come home at last.